do not reflect the opinions of In Touch Radio or its staff.
Get ready, get ready, get ready. It's Let's Talk Business with Cheryl J. Cusseau. This is the third hour of our show. My co-host, Jeanette Diva J. Howard Smith, as you all know, is taking care of her beautiful bouncing baby boy and will be joining us on next month. But here in her hot seat is none other than my dear friend and colleague, Rolanda McDuffie, CPA, the newly debuted author of, there it is, right behind her. Welcome back to the show, Rolanda.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it the last time, and I look forward to you this show today as well. Thank you.
Well, you are more than welcome, and I'm excited. Your goal when we first introduced the book was to be on the Amazon bestseller, and you are still on that list. So kudos to you, Miss Author.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
So we will talk a little about your book on the second half of the show, but we're so excited for our guests who are here. So for those who are listening, we know we do have some on Facebook, to our In Touch News followers, our YouTubers, please like and share today's show, because what we are about to share with you, it really is life-changing, and it's information that you will want to share with others. We have another debut author on our show, but before we get to the author, I have to just kind of present to some, because everybody knows Keisha. Mrs. Keisha Pickett Boyd, CEO of Pickett. Look at him. The PR group. Welcome to the show, daughter.
Hi, Mama Cusseau. How are you?
Listen, in my daughter's word, I am fantabulous. So happy to have you here. I certainly know you. I could say to individuals that you coined that phrase, Mama Cusseau. I met you, my gosh, right out of college. A friend of my son, Rocky's, and I'll never forget, on one occasion, we were both at the first beginning of the Black Business Bus Tour. Mm-hmm. And Candy Lowe had her hands full that day. Rocky was coordinating the tours, and we agreed to stay behind at the Harbor Club. Girl, remember the Harbor Club?
Yes.
And we were going to stay behind and help with the vendors that were going to be there when they returned back. And we just clicked and became very, 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 very good friends. And so you were adopted as one of my daughters.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate that. So first, tell us a little bit about what you've been doing, girl.
Whew, I've been doing a lot, you know. Look, first of all, being a mother to my 5-year-old, a wife to my husband, yes. And just, you know, making it work in these new pandemic times, and just, you know, handling business. I've been working on some pretty cool clients, working with, you know, a lot of good stuff. What'd you say?
I said awesome, because your list of your clientele list is very, very impressive, from just businesses here locally, nonprofits, to, I mean, you've got a whole line out in LA and Atlanta and all points in between.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And they've been keeping me busy. So I'm excited. I'm blessed. And I've been, you know, in PR for 21 whole years. So I know, right? It's been a long time. So the business has changed. The aspect is ever changing. So I'm just always a student, really, just learning as things, you know, evolve.
Well, I believe that, because I am a lifelong learner. And yes. I think that's what just keeps us young and energetic and informed. Mm-hmm. But that being said, you guys have kind of gotten through a year of the pandemic with a baby. How was that for you? And work as well?
You know what? It was different, because, you know, he just now went to kindergarten this year. So when the pandemic started, we had to adjust to trying to do pre-K at home, right? And because they didn't offer, really didn't offer a lot of virtual for pre-K at all. So we had to become teachers, not just parents, but, you know, obviously we are the first teachers, but academic teachers. I had to reach back into my educator years and get them going. But Dad and I, we took that on, and Nana, and he's ready. He knows a lot of things. And if, you know, he's still developing and doing great, but, you know, it was difficult at first, but after a few months, we got used to it, and it just became normal.
It sounds like you guys championed right on, and you couldn't ask for a better Nana outside of
Yes.
myself, but you couldn't ask for a better Nana. And so you guys are truly, truly blessed. So I'm going to take this opportunity, Rolanda, and we're going to introduce our special guest, the husband of Keisha Pickett Boyd. And when you mentioned that you were a wife, the smile on his face, he gleamed like a little kid in a candy store. But to you, our listeners, and we're going to introduce him today. He's an entrepreneur, and he can tell us a little bit about that. That's coming to the successful part of it. But our hot topic today comes from his debut book. And to our radio listening audience, when I say sell to success, it's sell spelled C-E-L-L. So Sell to Success is a debut book from author Chance L. Boyd. Chance, what does L stand for?
Lamar.
Okay, Lamar. Chance Lamar Boyd.
Yes.
Boyd. It's an eye-opening literary work that's sure to capture the hearts and minds of its readers. Sell to Success highlights some of Chance's life-changing experiences and the ultimate discovery of success. It is a raw and provocative look into the life of a young man as he grows up and matures through adversity. Sell to Success is an entertaining, it's engaging, it's educational, and it's a story that will make you cry, laugh, and most importantly, learn. Left cold, hungry, and confused, Chance is forced to grow up fast when his mother falls victim to alcoholism. The only thing that will bring her back is cash money. The very same thing that tore his family apart. Scorned from the difficult past with Chance's mother, his father fails to intervene, pushing him to develop a self-sufficient mindset. Chili? Is that right, Chance?
Chill.
Oh, y'all call it chill. Okay, well, I put that on it.
Yeah.
Chance's sister in Saving Grace puts him on an early path of independence. In his struggle to survive the bloodthirsty streets of Detroit, known as the D, Chance quickly realizes that it's not the hand life deals you, but how you play it. In a place where you live fast and die young, chasing a dollar, and a dream becomes young Chance's eventual demise. He is forced to face the consequences of his actions when he is sentenced to 141 months in federal prison. I know you all are calculating that math real quick. Chance must adjust to a new way of life, survive to see another day, and somehow become a better man. Sell to Success will touch your soul, dance on your heart, activate your thoughts, and take you along Chance's journey to true liberation. Mr. Chance Lamar Boyd, welcome to Let's Talk Business with SJC.
Thank you for having me.
You said that so somberly, but yet I'm doing this introduction. I've begun to read your book, and the chance that I have visualized from all of that, I wanted to ask, was this Chance the hustler or gangster? Is there a difference?
Well, and is there a difference in between the chance then or the chance now?
Oh, I know there's a difference between the chance then and the chance now. That was that part that I read that said how you were going to become a better man and
Correct.
you become, I believe, your best self.
Yes.
But you seem right now on this show, you're so humble.
I am. I've always been a humble person. I believe in being modest. Okay. I believe in truth, honestly. And one of the things that you have to do in my position is always be truthful and modest, because we can get caught up in our own hype, so be modest about it.
Be modest about it. Every now and then in your movement, I can kind of see a little light flickering. So I want to make sure that our audience is able to see you. Some are witnessing the show live. Others are hearing it from the audio of the radio. So we want to make sure, see, it went out just a moment ago. So we'll identify what that touch is so that you are, and a term that you use.
Yes.
Eye to eye, squared shoulders.
Yeah.
I picked that up a number of times in the book. So when Chance the man stands up, his shoulders are thrown back. So you all watch for that as we go through this interview. Keisha, were you there at the beginning of Chance's book?
Was I there at the beginning of his book?
Yes.
When he started writing? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So were you that inspiration that I know you to be?
I think that I had a little bit of a role in that,
Just a little something.
Just a little bit.
Well, let me go back. Chance, we really need to figure out what's causing you to go in and out and completely go dark, and then you're able to come back. But that's okay. That's the beautiful part. We are also navigating through. We thought the pandemic was over, but because of that Delta variant, we are still very much in the pandemic.
Yes.
And we are all adjusting to this world. We're not in the studio, so we're making the best of the technology and the platforms that we have available. Chance, Sell to Success. When did you know there was a book in you?
When I completed it, be honest. I mean, I've always had the desire to, engage, entertain, and educate. That has always been a strong desire. It wasn't until I learned the power of the literary word that I was able to actually embrace that calling. And, as a result, when you get the effects that you do when someone reads your material, that in and of itself is inspiring. It just channels deeper energies, a deeper desire to want to, really give people a part of yourself. It's a selfless work.
You gave a lot of yourself. You gave a lot of yourself in this book. And we'll get into the book, but there's one section I couldn't figure out what your age was. And I said to myself, he became a man long before he turned 16 or 18 years young.
Yeah.
And I asked age because this story you tell when your mom sends you out in this brutal storm. And you don't even fight it. You just go. So you did more than just a part of yourself. When you were writing the book, did you have any idea how you were going to categorize the book? Did you want to start from your beginning life? Or how did you decide to just put it all in and put it all out?
Well, Power and Truth is countless hours of self-evaluation, revisions, picking and choosing what parts of myself I feel needs to be delivered in this message in order to get the point across. So it was countless hours of trying to figure those things out. Once I made my mind up that, there's really no way around telling the truth. Just tell the truth. The longer you spend trying to filter the process, the longer it takes and the more difficult it becomes. I
And
found
you can't be your genuine self because now you're trying to fix stuff and phrase it. So perhaps for some people it may sound better or more professional.
Yes.
And may not be accepted in the literary world, but I am so glad you stayed 100.
Yes. That was very important because, you know, I don't want to talk at people. I want to talk to them. I want to engage you in some, you know, some meaningful conversation, you know. I think once we can get past the pretenses and, you know, being afraid to, you know, show our imperfect perfections, you know, we can gain a lot of ground. We truly can, because no matter man or woman, we all still have one commonality, and that's life. We have to live it.
You really truly have grasped that understanding of perfection, because I remember, I don't remember which chapter it was, but I remember you made this statement to one of your homeboys about being perfect, but you had them to understand when you said, I am not perfect, although they look to you like, because you've always been a leader, even as a young man.
Yes, ma'am.
They look to you as that perfect person, especially when you tried to move away. But you came back and you told them that you were not, and that if they were perfect, they were not real.
Exactly. Real people aren't perfect, and perfect people aren't real.
There it is. That was that quote. And
yes,
you've got some amazing quotes all throughout the book. I actually had to stop myself because I was starting to type too many quotes. But in any literary experience, you always want to glean something from there. And if I would hear something that I may have heard it before, but I needed to capture it and save it and put it in my literary archive, it was just too many. It was just too many of them. So one day I'll have to go back and narrow them down. But I love the way you captured your chapters. I love the headers, because each one that I have read has been true to form. Now, one question I must ask you, because I interviewed a number of authors. I've interviewed those that did not tell their family members about what was in the book until the book came out. And because my turn, your words are so gut-wrenching, yet you have the conversation with those persons that you named in the book before the book was published.
Absolutely. No matter if it was a good conversation, bad conversation, anyone that's involved in my storyline is there because they know they're there, and they're there for a reason.
All right. And you did not sugarcoat any of those introductions.
No. I just wanted to paint a picture and allow the audience to draw their own conclusions.
You also have an amazing gift in your narratives and descriptives. You would say stuff that the average person would just never think of. Even if you're just describing, and I promise you all, you got to read the book. If you're just describing an alcoholic's breath, it's the way you do it. If you're describing somebody that rolled up on you and wanted to embrace you, and you took us in your descriptions. We were right there. We could almost smell the scent.
Oh, wow.
That's how good it was. And when you describe the dress and how a particular person dressed, when you describe how you were cleaning the man's wheels of that Mercedes, I think it was a 550 SL, and all up in between the rims, you can feel your fingers moving like we had a rag and we were in there cleaning with you.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about the book. So we've got the name of the book. We know why you decided to write the book. How long did it take you to write the book?
It took me 1.5 years to write the book.
Oh, so that was pretty much the pandemic.
Yes.
So you just had to finally be quieted and slow down a bit to get it all out.
Well, I actually had to accept my calling. It had nothing to do with the pandemic. It had nothing to do with anything like that. This was a process between me and God, you know.
You and God. If my daughter Alana was here, Keisha, she would say, "Have your purpose." And now it's time to turn that purpose up. And I am here to tell you that book has ignited a flame.
Thank you.
And you truly, it truly is a gift. And I appreciate the fact that you allowed us from the offset to know that it's raw.
Yes.
It is raw. and as well, provocative, seductive, and a whole lot of other adjectives.
A whole lot of them.
Look here, potload of Keisha, what do you have to say about the book before we get into the chapters?
The book is amazing. We've gone through several edits and rereading and reading, and it was a labor of love. And like you asked the question about, a lot of times people don't want to write books like this because they're concerned about what people will think, how their family will feel, like, are we going to ruin relationships? And at the end of the day, I think Chance just decided that, hey, there's power in my truth, and I want to help other people, to be able to release themselves, because I think as he was writing this over the last year and a half, it was therapeutic for him, right? It took him through a lot of emotions because he had to relive all these things that he didn't necessarily want to, but it was necessary for him to do it so that he could, get it all out. And it's many times where he, I've seen him frustrated, where it took him a day or two or three or a week to write a certain chapter because it was painful. He don't, it was a lot. It was a lot. And I learned a lot about him through this book as well, that I, little details that I might not have known, just because. And so it's been a process for the both of us, but definitely more than anything, I think that it's been an avenue for him to just take some things that were buried deep and just get them out of his system, right? In an effort to help others and to just be truthful, honest, and you're right. Some things when I read it, I'm like, you sure you want to say it like this? Like, you sure you don't want to rearrange this at all? No, you want to keep that? All right, we're gonna keep that then. Because I am, we're almost like opposites attract, where we come from very different backgrounds.
Absolutely.
But you know what I mean? We come from very different backgrounds, but it works for us. I learned quite a bit from him and he learns quite a bit from me. And that's kind of what works best for our address, as my dad would say. But I think,
it's that love where opposites attract.
Yeah. But I think people
you learned a little bit.
Yeah.
I think you learned a lot.
A lot. Yeah. But I think people will enjoy the read. They will enjoy and appreciate his willingness to kind of just lay it all on the line.
And so what would you say to someone reading it for the first time, and maybe they've heard or read some of the reviews, and to prepare for the book? You, Keisha, coming from a totally different world. And what would you say to someone to give him a chance to read his book? Because, sometimes, and I learned this from my author who wrote the book, Tawanda Summer. And she said, I know a lot of church folk will not want to read this book. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, why would you say that? And she said, because it's very, very raw and they may take offense to the language. And because she was, as her terms, a crack baby, she had to be real in telling her story. And that was the life that she lived. And she said, if they can't, then, the book is not for them. But if they want to know my struggles and what I went through, they will look beyond that and first hear the story before Absolutely. The judgment.
And I agree, because we live in a society that unfortunately does judge first, right? But one thing that people can't deny is everyone knows someone who has been through the judicial system in some type of way. Correct. Or still in the judicial system in some type of way. So I encourage people, no, this book is not necessarily self-help for you. It's an inspiration, motivation, right? But it could be something that, you can share with those who may be in that situation, who may be still struggling through that situation. And it's not, you can be in the church, but church folks cuss. They cussed before they were saved. So it's not like you don't have to necessarily, act like the words don't exist, because they do. They're out there. You can read certain things and see certain things and not, have to, judge it on that. You need to judge for the content, the stories, the lessons learned throughout it, and be able to see that a young man who didn't have the best life growing up, who fell victim to the societal pressures, right? Has been able to turn his life around and be a success. And I think what's important, and I'm sure Chance you'll ask him this, what success means, but for him to be able to share what his success is and just welcome it for what it is.
And I appreciate that. He explained it to us. It was his calling. He is fulfilling his purpose. My co-host today, Rolanda McDuffie, actually was sharing some of her writing experiences with us on the first show. And trying to be true to herself, that was the direction she decided to take as well. So Rolanda, we would love to hear from you before we kind of get into the book with Chance, but please go ahead and share what you would like to share.
So I definitely enjoyed the book, Chance, and I co-sign everything Cheryl has said so far about the book. It is definitely raw and entertaining. And it opened up my eyes to a lot of things, but I also feel like it's a great book for young men who are potentially going through that same scenario, to give them hope and to allow them to see a better way of how they can do things differently. So I appreciate the fact that you are following, or you followed your calling and fulfill that through this book, because I'm sure that it's going to lead some young men down a different path, or at least show some men who have already gone down that path that they can find a better way as well. They don't necessarily have to allow their past decisions and mistakes to determine their final outcome. We can all grow and learn from the things that we've gone through in our past and move forward as well. I think one thing I wanted to know, based with that being said, like what kept you grounded and kept your mind and heart open while you were going through that turmoil in your life, and so that you can come to the other side? Can you share that, I guess, so that others can know exactly what your mindset was when you were going through those things?
Absolutely. What kept me grounded was that throughout my journey, my story, my struggles, I had great family. Okay. I didn't say a perfect family or the best family, but I had a great family. I had those that were willing to, be that little beacon of light in those hours of darkness. I had the people, the selfless individuals that had either been through some things or had not been through some things, but were still willing to be a help. People say it all the time. They see potential in us. They see a lot of things in us. But majority of the time, what happens is it just stops right there. They only see it. Very few people actually take the personal investment to help cultivate what they see. So for me, what kept me grounded were people trying to help me get to the next level. Not in the instance of saying I'm weak and can't help myself and I need a handout, but they were offering strong hand ups. Okay, if you have this situation now, you have time on your hands, so study. I'll send you books. Okay, do you know how to pray? What are your views on life? Do you know anything about economics? Do you speak a second language? So ultimately what happened is that I was just around people that were concerned with my personal development. That's how I remained grounded.
I appreciate that answer. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, wow. I thought Rolanda was going to delve all up in there. I'm listening. To those of you that are listening, this is not an overnight read. Even if you try to listen to it on Audible, you have to stop. Did he just say that? And replay again, and then you got to back up a chapter and say, did I miss something? There are 62 chapters in this book and 271 pages. So if you're like me and you've taken speed reading, forget it. Some things you can't speed read. Right. Because you do not want to miss the message. And one of the things Chance said is he wants it to be a learning experience, and we learn through repetition. And so some of it I had to go back through it again. When you were beginning the book, my first mind went to, I saw an interview with Michael B. Jordan.
Mhm.
Michael B. Jordan. And people asked him, how do you prepare yourself for the role you are about to play? As I was going through your book, I said, man, wonder how Chance had to delve deep into your psyche and prepare yourself. I know it was a life you lived, but you had to take yourself. You used the term cultivate, but you had to go back years and think back to those conversations, but yet you write it like it happened yesterday. How did you prepare to pull all of this out of you?
There was no way that I could prepare. There was no way I could prepare for that. This was truly just, as you said, experience is the best teacher. Repetition is the mother of learning. You know, all of these things reside on the inside. They never went away. They're not distant memories. It's a part of my makeup now. So when I have to recall certain things, I don't have to look very far, because once you lived it and you've experienced it, there's going to be a good experience, bad experience, and they all live within us. So it's just having the ability to just look at it for what it is.
And we're going to do just that. We're going to look at it after we come back from our commercial break. But you're joining me today on Let's Talk Business with my guest co-host, Rolanda McDuffie, and our special guest, Mr. and Mrs. Chance and Keisha Boyd. Back in a moment.
When it comes to reality radio, everyone is a star.
I know that's right.
On your smooth soul and R&B station. On the World Wide Web.
Access granted.
In Touch Radio.
Cancer affects everyone, but minority populations are often hit hardest. Moffitt Cancer Center is working to address the barriers that keep some groups from getting the care they need. African Americans develop cancer at a younger age, have more aggressive cancers, and experience worse outcomes than the general population.
While cancer treatment is evolving with precision medicine, who is being left behind? We know for many decades that some groups experience a greater burden of cancer than others. We can prevent it, we can detect it early. It's very beatable when we find it early. I have worked with cancer patients during their treatment. All cancer patients have courage.
So my treatment was about 18 months. I had 3 cancers and 7 surgeries. But my son told me, like, Mom, you're the strongest person that I know. Moffitt saved my life.
During COVID-19, Moffitt is a safe place for your cancer care. Call now to schedule an appointment.
We're playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
And we are back. Welcome back to Let's Talk Business with SJC. I'm here with my special guest, Keisha Boyd, and as well, author Chance Boyd, and my guest co-host, Rolanda McDuffie. Chance, where did the name Chance come from? Who named you?
My father.
Wow. Because you got a lot to say about your father in the book.
Yeah, he gave me the chance to.
Oh, that's a good one. I walked right into that one. And what you did with that Chance is phenomenal. And I'm going to say this at the offset, and actually to both of you. I wish you much success for this month is National Black Business Month. But what I'm seeing is the business of this literary world. African Americans coming out with great books, great reads, great information. Some are just very, very informative. Others are gut-wrenching. But it's 100. And there's so many. I'm actually getting calls, Keisha, from people wanting to be interviewed on the show, which our show has always been the motto, catch the show that will be all up in your business.
Yeah.
And it seems that we as African Americans, I read a study last year that we are writing more books than ever before. And I think that's phenomenal. And I am glad that the two of you, Keisha has been writing for years. She's been hosting, she's a radio personality as well, hosting her own podcast. So this is nothing new in the literary world for her. But to you, Chance, and to Rolanda, I wish you all the success. I said this to Rolanda, and I will be championing. I work with a lot of nonprofits. I volunteer with a lot of nonprofits. And every time I am in front of the founder, I am pushing her book. Because in order for them to excel and do well and get to the successful point that Chance talks about in his book, your board needs to know the numbers and what they represent and their fiduciary responsibility. Chance, to you, after having read your book, I will do the same. As I come in contact with these organizations, especially those who are working with and training our young Black men, boys to men. They don't have to have experienced what you did, but my golly, read the book. It'll certainly help to steer them in the right direction to not want to experience it. And they can come with a takeaway of that book saying, Chance did it for all of us. I'm good. I'm good. So when I started reading, and one of the things you talk a lot about cash, you talk a lot about money. And I grew up in a housing project and I know what that's like. I didn't have the mindset of being poor because we just had a great loving family. And listen, people called it the projects, but my mom told us we lived in college year homes. So I remember when we were buds and, my kids living in, Carrollwood and Northdale and all those places. Where do you live? With my, look, shoulder square, chest out, college hill homes. And so it's what's in your mind as you're being raised, but you use that term money. And I went to a quote that I heard from one of our colleagues, and you know him well, Keisha, with the FAT group, and that's Charles Young. His motto for his CPA business, Rolanda, is no money, no mission. And as I was reading that chapter of Chance's book, I immediately went to that. He's right. How are you going to have a mission to get some things done if you don't have the resources there to support you with what it is you need to do? So how is this young kid growing up in the D going to be able to do what needed to be done, hearing your mother say, we need money, we need money, we need money. I mean, really, when that record Money came out, it must have resonated strongly with you guys, or you probably didn't hear it until you were a lot older. But that being said, so let's delve into these chapters. There are a lot of them, 62. We're going to just hit on a few of them. I have a lot of them. I still go back to chapter 15. There's something about our grandmothers, and when my grandmother sat down and have a conversation with us. I can remember my grandmother having a conversation with me when I was probably your age as well. And it's just like yesterday, that information comes back to us. As I was reading the chapters, one of the things I like to do is just run through books and see the names and the themes, because I'm like, where is this book going? This is where I'm going to start, but where is it going to end? You've got some phenomenal themes as names of your chapters from some of the greatest minds that we have been exposed to, and to some other people that I just don't even know, have never even heard of. And there was one name in particular, Mike Williams. And I was like, is this a football player, Mike Williams? Which Mike Williams is this? It might be a Michael Williams. And maybe you don't want us to know. That was a great quote. But how did you decide was it the stories and you wrote a chapter and then you came up with the title? Because the book titles are phenomenal. The chapter titles are phenomenal.
Okay. Well, for Mike Williams, the quote, if you don't work, you don't eat. Okay. We've all heard that, but that is just one man that has been adamant about that all of my life. Like, he would say things like sleep late, lose weight. Exactly. And that cultivated something inside of me. Don't wait. Go out there and get it. Be first. Be first. Be the first one. Stay a little bit longer. Just put in a little bit more than the next person, because That's how you set yourself apart. That's how you first take care of yourself. And that carries over into taking care of your family.
You are absolutely right. And first become very, very important. My husband and I were looking at a documentary. It was an interview with Eiffel, the late Gwen Eiffel, and the late Vernon Joy. And if anybody has not seen that interview, it was in 2008, 2014. Go back and look at it. And one of the things he said when she was asking the question with him, living the life that he lived, what were some of those first lessons and when you're beginning? And he said, my first happened in first grade. And the first lesson was to make good grades.
Yeah.
And it was just so funny, but here's why it was funny. It was funny because he came back and said that while he was in school, there were three of them, three boys, two brothers, and no matter what school they were in, he said, every school I've ever attended, my mother was the president of the PTA. And at one time, my two brothers, we were in different schools, and she was president of the elementary PTA and as well the junior high school PTA. And so there was a lot of pressure to perform. So when we think about first, and I hear you talk about first, you know, your first inspiration, your first thought, that first gut feeling, those are lessons for us. And it helps you to, as your word, to cultivate whatever that next step is going to be. Well, I appreciate that. And I welcome all to grab that book. There is just so much that you are going to learn. Is there a favorite chapter for Chance Lamar Boyd?
I would have to say the ending chapter.
Which one? The ending?
Yes.
Oh, only because that was your beginning.
Yeah. Well, that's because that's my success.
That's your success. And that's a good one. It's a good one. Let me go to my other literary debut author. Rolanda.
Yes.
You've written how many chapters in your book?
That is a great question. I think I have 34 because I didn't number my book, the chapter. So I think it's 34. I don't have as many as Chance does.
Oh my goodness. Well, two different, totally different books. And one is more of a guide than a life learning experience. But the reason I was asking the question, because you've written your book and now you're hearing Chance talk a little bit about his book, and he certainly has a lot to say. Along those developmental lines of pulling those chapters together, how did that resonate with you? Was yours just more of a step-by-step, or was it experiences?
Mine was his experiences. I didn't have to dig as deep as Chance did. From an emotional stance, I'm sure that had to be very difficult. I can't even, I've done a mini book so far, and that mini dip into my life, that was very emotional for me, so I can only imagine. But mine came from the experience of just working with different nonprofit organizations, either founders or board members, and questions that have come up over and over again that I know that is an issue for them, that spans across all sizes of nonprofit organizations. So again, it was just more of an experience situation where I was able to sit down and just think through questions that have come up or problems that I've known that have happened within nonprofit organizations, and just think from there and right to that point.
And to that point, Chance, what was the most difficult chapter for you? And Keisha, I'm coming to you with the same question, both.
The chapter where I really had to get in detail about the snowstorm and the conditions of my mom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that was chapter 5.
Yes. Yes. That was the most difficult because, again, that's mom we talking about here. This is my mother. And, not only, in exposing the weakness in that moment left me in a very vulnerable place. And I really had to have a discussion with her. Like, this is a very important part of my story that I want to share with the world because I know what it did for me. That in and of itself was just a journey because it's a lot of emotion there.
It was a journey, and they're going to have to read the book. You developed a great friend, a great mentor in Mr. Raul. And for him to ask you, even your sister Chill, like, wait, what are you doing here? What are you doing out in the storm? And I wonder how from your home to the store, was that a long walk?
In between 6 to 8 blocks, city blocks.
But it was just so brutally cold that just going through that was an ordeal in and of itself.
Yes.
Keisha, Pickett, favorite chapter.
Favorite chapter. Oh gosh. You know, I don't see that chapter that we were just talking about where he talks about the snowstorm. I think it's the most impactful chapter for me, just because it sets us up. Like, it sets us up for what is to come. And it gives us a backstory of why, he made those decisions and had to be an adult at such a young age. And I know it was hard. Like, it was a hard thing to do and have to go through. And just because I know, obviously I know all of his family, his dad, his mom, his parents and everything, and where they are now, just to have to go back and read and learn some of those things, it was very impactful and eye-opening for me. And I had a lot of questions. I did. And it also made me understand him and some of, the things that it just made me understand him a little bit better. So I would probably have to go with that chapter 5 as most impactful. But my favorite chapter is probably when, when he comes home and is starting his journey to success, when he gets that first job, when, he is, starting his own, business and all that good stuff, where he starts to turn that corner and realize that he can apply the things that he did that were not so good and make it and use it in the next chapter of his life. So
I like that. And I actually like Chill and Mike, because she said to him, she just point blank said, hey, dude, you are not going to do this. You're not bringing this up into my house. She didn't say it using those words, but she made it perfectly clear what he needed to do. And then it kind of gave us the eye, because to have your brother-in-law be someone that was inculturated and understood the importance of it. And I think you came up with some great work ethic. So how old were you when you were working in the car wash with brother Mike, brother-in-law Mike? He called you brother.
Oh, yeah.
That was my big brother.
14?
At that time, yes. It was like 15 years old.
I was trying to figure that out, because it's kind of there for, you don't write about being there about 2 years, and then you were 16 when you went into the Job Corps. That was a tough one too, but I go back to that chapter, and if it's chapter 5, I believe it's 4 or 5, and that's the one I had to go back and reread. And because I grew up without a father, my father died right before my 12th birthday. And so I always like to learn how people have relationships with both their parents. I've never had that. I had a bunch of uncles that stepped in to be father-like figures to me. So when I was reading that part, I took the phone call, and there was a part of me that said, man, if he was in front of me, I'd go upside his head. That's how angry he made me. Because I felt like you had to do this bag. That was a hard chapter. That was a hard chapter for you.
Yeah.
So you've given us your best chapter. You've given us one of the most difficult chapters. What message? Let me go with the message, and then I'm going to come back to how you rate success. Because you talk, and if you want to know, go read the book, buy the book. You can get the book on Amazon. You can get it on your Kindle, whatever device you're using, Audible. Buy the book. And not only just buy the book, gift the book.
Yes.
Gift the book to someone else. And if you know of an organization where there are a lot of males, and let me tell you something, you can give this book to females too, so that they can learn how they want to be respected and how they want to be treated. For the males, donate the books to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's make this book a super successful book, and we can do it, y'all. We have the power within us. We don't have to wait for somebody else. We can do this. We can be intentional in how we spend our dollars.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sell to Success, Power and Truth Publishing. Go get it. Yes. Thank you.
Wait a minute. Speaking of Keisha, his email address, Kingpin. He owns his own publishing company too.
So listen, my husband.
Yeah, listen.
He has always wanted to have a publishing house, and so we decided together to start a publishing house. So powerandtruthpublishing.com. This is his brainchild. This is his baby. I'm just a partner supporting and helping, where I can, of course. And we're learning this publishing business, but this was our first project with Sell to Success. And it's been great, but he also, because of where he comes from and the people that he still has connections who are still inside and those who are back home, there are a lot of people who have stories to share and they don't know how to share them. And so he wanted to start Power and Truth Publishing to help us tell those stories. Our slogan is, there is power in your truth.
Yes.
That is our slogan, because we can have all these fictional, Power and Truth will have, fiction, all kinds of stuff by the time we, roll the things out that we're planning. But first and foremost, we want people to be able to use the literary works to share their stories, to touch other lives, and know that they have a resource to do it through someone who's been through it. So Chance's first book is here with Sell to Success, and he's already working on the second, so
Awesome.
Power and Truth.
Anthology, awesome. Trilogy, awesome. Rolanda, any input on this experience we're going through with Mr. Chance Lamar Boyd?
Yeah, like I said, I definitely appreciate that you took the opportunity to write this book and tell your story, because I definitely do feel like it does need to be heard. And so that some younger and find out some great tidbits from it. So again, thank you for sharing it and putting it out there.
Chance, and I love the way you started the book with the epilogue. And I wanted to read this. I'm not sure if you have the book in front of you, and there are a lot of pieces of it, but this piece right here speaks volumes about where you are today. And this is coming from the courtroom scene. Mr. Boyd has nothing to say in his defense. All of this was a formality. Quote, all of this was a formality. I already signed my plea agreement. I knew what I had coming. I wouldn't give this judge the satisfaction of seeing me grovel. I had no pleading speech to give. I had lost everything, but they would not take my dignity. This unjust justice system had already exposed its unforgiving ways. This courtroom was not the place where forgiveness or empathy would be provided. I learned through these court proceedings that no one in the legal system deals in emotion. Who I was as a person or how much I meant to my family didn't matter. The only thing that mattered here was what I had done and what was written on paper. That was a mind-blowing statement, because the judge was so upset that you would not give his court an explanation of why you did what you did, but you already knew it wasn't going to change a darn thing. And that was that day that you squared your shoulders and said, I accept responsibility for what I did, although no one really knew the real story. Man.
I really thought that was a great place to start, because it makes you want to know the real story. It makes you want to know why did this man choose not to give a a speech of forgiveness or throw itself on the mercy of the courts, because it's not the courts that I seek mercy from. It's from my God. It's from my family members and friends that I've disappointed and let down. Those are the ones that I need to seek forgiveness and compassion from. This mockery of what we call a courtroom is just nothing more than any other business dealing. You're passing me along to the next person, okay? All under the pretense that I'm not a law-abiding citizen. Well, okay, since that's how we're going to use it, if I put on your gown and judge you, then maybe you should be coming along with me. You're much more hypocritical and a crook. But at that particular time, it wasn't about that. It was about me not being broken going in. If you're broken going in, you're going to be even worse coming out. I was determined not to allow that to be one of the things that would depress my spirit, because that's all I had. That was it. I couldn't take mom with me. I couldn't take dad with me. I couldn't take anything other than what I felt on the inside, okay? And distant memories, things that I held on to keep me from losing it, from giving up, from feeling like, okay, there's not an end game to this. It's just a constant journey of pain. So you will figure out how to self-medicate. Me holding on to my integrity was a part of self-medication.
I thank you for sharing that. It was certainly the part that I read that had me glued. As a matter of fact, I called Keisha or text, I'm not sure which method of communication used, and I said, this book is riveting.
Yeah, riveting.
Riveting. You say raw. And I know, Rolanda, we were going to talk a little bit about your chapters, but as I listened to Chance talk about his experience, I thought that we would use this time to let him express it as best he could. And I think he did a phenomenal job taking us on this brief journey. And we will use this platform to encourage all of you that are listening, get the book for yourself. Kingpin, and in your publishing, I wish you Godspeed. How can we get the book? How can we find the book? I know we've told them to go on Amazon, but how else can they find the book?
I'll scream it from the mountaintop. The book can be found on Power and True Publishing. It can also be found on Amazon. We will be with Barnes and Noble very soon. And you can always reach me directly through Facebook. Okay. I like to personalize things, so the Amazon is awesome because, people pay attention to the numbers, and the literary arts are propelling us to higher levels now.
Yes.
It really is. So don't feel shame to go to Amazon to buy the book, whether it's in the digital copy, physical copy, however, go on there. Let them people know that we are here now. This Power and Truth movement is just that, a movement. It's a synergy. It's infectious. So the pages of the book are going to open up to you in a way to where you're going to find a part of yourself as well.
Yes. If you're honest with yourself.
Yes.
If you're honest with yourself.
Yes.
Listen, there are some things getting ready to happen, and we will put the post up, but I certainly hope, Keisha, that you and Chance will support. THAP is getting ready to do the Black Wall Street experience, and it all came from a story out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, in supporting Black-owned businesses. We would love for you all to consider coming there as a vendor and bringing your books. It's going to happen in October, so you'll hear more about that. Also, we have coming up Med Week, Minority Enterprise Development. They're doing their event, but it's going to be virtual on the 26th. And so we will have that post there. There are seats available for you. DSI Black Pages is a sponsor, and Keisha, you've been a part of helping with Med Week. I have for so many years. And so take this opportunity to read our thank you posts, and please share this information, because Minority Enterprise Development Week is very, very important, especially when those major corporations come in to support us, see what's going on with us, and support our minority businesses. I've certainly made a lot of business contacts as a result of that. Also, BWBOEE, Black Women Business Owners Executives, is having coffee and conversation. So come out and join us on this Saturday. That information will be put there with you as well. Our board president is none other than Ms. Ingrid D. That stands for Daniels Young. She will be there. To you, my guests, I thank you so much. I have enjoyed our thought-provoking conversation on your debut book. I'm so glad now that you have your own publishing company, because now we've got people where we can send you to.
Yes.
To my guest co-hosts, thank you so much. You know you will be coming back because we're still doing our 64K. First of all, thank you all for supporting SJC 64 fundraising. I mean, the numbers are climbing every week. August the 28th is National Black Profit Give Day. Rolanda is going to be a guest speaker. We have her flyer and we will put that up to support her. But August 28th is the day we're hoping to get as close to our goal as possible. So you can still go on my Facebook page and donate. And a big thank you to all of you that have donated. I'm actually picking up checks this week that we're going to be personally hand delivering. I thank all of you who decided not to post on Facebook, but I am championing 10 causes and we're hoping to get as close to that goal as possible on the 28th, but we are running the campaign all through 12/31. So I thank the three of you so very much. We will see you back on next week with Let's Talk Business. And actually, County Commissioner Gwen Myers is going to be on that show because we've got to come back and look at the pandemic and this Delta variant and see where we are. A special shout out to my In Touch family and to our new sponsor, the Moffitt Cancer Center, or our second Wednesday sponsor for the health segment of our show. We appreciate the fact that they thought enough to look at this platform and say, what can we do? How can we support this message? I thank you all. This show, Punch, 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 is a wrap.
Thank you.